Good to see you. Good thing.
Amen. Good. Oh, you, nice to see you. Very good.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
Clerk, will you call the roll, please? Mrs. Moore? Here. Mrs. Thompson? Here. Mr. Morris? Mr. Bittner?
Here.
Mr. Shaboo?
Here.
Mr. Lunder?
Here.
Mr. Johnson? Has everybody had a chance to review the minutes from the January 24th meeting? Are there any corrections or comments?
Motion to approve. Second.
Clerk, will you call the roll, please? Mrs. Moore? Aye. Mrs. Thompson?
Abstain.
Mr. Bittner?
Hi.
Mr. Shaboo?
Hi.
Mr. Lunder?
Aye.
Clerk, do you have any correspondence this evening? No, I'm sorry, I don't. Do any members of council have any correspondence this evening? And I apologize for the voice tonight, please bear with me. To the administrative and department heads, mayor and safety director, Mr. Eva, good evening.
Good evening, Ms. Moore, members of council, the public here this evening. I'd like to start off with our 2022 Citizen of the Year presentation. Our 2022 Citizen of the Year is Sergeant Tina Messenger. Tina has lived in Mount Lake for the last 11 years. Tina joined our police department in 2015. To say that Tina has been very active in our community would be an understatement. When we talk about showing police officers as human beings, just like the rest of us, Tina goes above and beyond expectations. Tina started our Santa's Blue Helpers program 8 years ago. This program raises donations in order to take children in our city shopping around Christmas. Being part of the last shopping trip, it was nice. Lieutenant Forsythe and I had 2 children, a brother and sister, and on the way back from shopping, the brother said to the sister, "This is the best day ever." And it's things like that that, you know, make us want to help Tina every year with things like this. The effort that Tina puts in organizing this event is just amazing. Her passion and compassion for our community is amazing. She's also organized food drives around Thanksgiving, along with participating in several events over the years at Lake Elementary, where she is always recognized by the students. Our first female ranking officer in the history of the Mineral Lake Police Department. She's a role model for all women who would like to enter into this profession.
Nice to me. I'm not used to this. I'm sorry.
That was a nice touch, though, Kat. I appreciate all she's done for our community and our police department. Tina Messenger, our 2022 Citizen of the Year.
Thank you. I just want to say something briefly. I'm very humbled and grateful for being the recipient of this award for 2022. But all of the things that I'm able to do for the community, I would not be able to do without the support from others. I am very fortunate where, you know, since working here in 2015, I've had the support from the administration, from the mayor, from my police chief, from our police department heads, and from my peers as well. Lastly, I've had the support from the community. I would not be able to do nearly as much as I'm able to do for the community members if I did not have it. All of the programs that I have are funded from members of the community, members of businesses, surrounding area. And I'm just grateful that I do have all that support from everybody, because I wouldn't be able to do what I do if I didn't have that. So this is what I'm accepting this, and I'm very grateful, but I'm also looking at this as an award that reflects on the community itself, not just in my actions. So thank you for allowing me the opportunity to do what I do. Hopefully I will do it for a lot of years. I'm proud.
You guys can stay if you like, or,
I gotta work
okay, all right,
Thank you so much.
sure.
Thank you. Thank you so much. See you next week.
Probably.
Thank you. Fire department report for January. For January 2023, there were a total of 135 calls for service, 14 fire service calls, 99 rescue EMS calls. Of those 99 calls, 22 calls were for invalid assist, 2 calls for an overdose requiring Narcan. Our fire department anniversaries in January: firefighter Heinberger, 29 years. Lieutenant Tim Brown, 28 years. All of council received forwarded from me, and also this is Saks. There's a community cat event Thursday, February 16th, 6 to 8 p.m. at the Woodcliff Library. I will be there, and any member of council, if they'd like to. I think it'll be important to hear if they made any changes to their ordinance, or what they have. I know they wanted to talk to council, the ordinance committee, and maybe this will allow us to just get something from them and update the ordinances without them coming here to meet with us. I will ask council to suspend the rules for legislation tonight concerning the 2023 road program, and if possible, the development agreement with MSP Properties, and also the leads for lawn maintenance. That concludes my report. Also, just for the record, Mr. Frederick, his last day with us was February 10th.
Thank you. Law Director, Mr. Lyons.
Yes, good evening, Madam President. As you'll recall, over time, we talked about settlements and opiate class action matters that are going on. There was another settlement that was reached, and we had passed a memorandum of understanding. I think probably in 2021, we agreed to join in with the Attorney General of the state of Ohio in trying to pursue a global resolution of all of that. So 4 different pharmacies that were caught up in that litigation have settled with the Ohio Attorney General and also Attorney Generals of other states. And in order for us to participate in that settlement, we have to agree to opt into that settlement. We didn't opt into that settlement, then we would have to file our own lawsuit against these places, and that would be practical. So I would ask maybe under new business, if we could pass a motion to opt into these new settlements with CVS, Walmart, Allergan, and maybe by the time of the new business, I can come up with it. I mean, we have received some money, and we're only allowed to use the money for matters related to opiate type matters. I don't think that our city or any of the other cities that really figured out what to do to get it together. I think probably everybody's waiting for the county to come up with something. But we have received some money. Once again, it's not going to be a lot of money, but it is money that we have. Other than that, I have no clue. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any questions for the administration and department heads this evening?
When does Mentor, when are they passing that road program?
They, I believe, already passed their
Okay,
portion. And as usual, out of courtesy, we're involved, and I'd like to get them.
right, just so we're not holding up their progress.
No, right. And, talking with Tim Lannon, our engineer, earlier this week, if the weather's fine, like March, April, they'll get started.
Okay. Yeah, thank you.
That'll work, sure.
Mr. Goodman?
So the community cat thing on the 16th, I'm unable to attend, I'll be honest, state and the chair of the ordinance, so hopefully you and I can get together after.
Sure.
Talk about it. I don't know if Mr. Lunder's available, or no, I'm sorry, Mr. Morris won't be either. He's the co-chair, so he will not be there as well.
No, I can
I
get whatever we need and go.
Okay, and if they still want to meet with us.
Okay, sure.
Any other questions for department heads? Hearing none, we'll move on to board, committee, and commission reports. The Community Development Committee, there was an informal meeting. There were not enough council members present to have an official community development meeting on January 16th. Yes.
I would like to make a comment on that community development meeting. From my understanding, that meeting was held and it was stated at that meeting that I was unable to attend. I was never informed that there was a meeting, so I did not know that I was supposed to attend because I was not made aware of said meeting. So I just wanted to clarify that to everybody, that I was not made aware of that meeting on that day.
I will also clarify, I was uninformed of the meeting except for email, which I did not check the day before. I shall say the night before. I didn't know anything about it. So I did not know about it.
Parks and Recreation Board met on Thursday, January 26th.
And I was unavailable because of family.
Right, we did not have an official meeting, since we did not have a forum.
And the Planning and Zoning Commission met on Monday, February 6th.
Okay, February 6th, we started at 6 p.m. In attendance was Suzanne Keeson, Mike Sweeney, Al Busher, Brent Moore, myself, Dave Eva, Tim Lunder, Michelle Moore, some residents, and MSP property reps. Suzanne Keeson was reelected chairperson and Al Busher was reelected vice chair. After a closer scrutiny of MSP Properties Development Agreement, the commission approved the plan as presented. In review of ordinance 2022-0-27, the commission agreed that council should provide a new section. It looks like Ms. Moore added it to section, this 1258.02, section 1. To regulate small box stores in the city. The revision will stipulate that 15% of the store merchandise shall be fresh and frozen frozen foods in compliance with FDA Title 21, Section 10195. The commission also agreed to recommend to council that the city ordinance section 125802 and the retail services list should include small box stores. The commission also agreed that council should designate small box stores in business district B1 as NP, not permitted, and C, conditional in district B2. Both amendments should be amended to ordinance 2022-07. The meeting ended at 6:57 p.m. and the next meeting is scheduled for March 6th. Ms. Moore has incorporated all this in here and so that we can. Council.
At this time, we'll open this portion to the public to speak. If you'd like to speak, please step to the left and state your name and address.
My name is Ted Nancy, and I live in Parkwood in Manor, but I am the commander of the ambulance of 109 here on Lakeshore Boulevard. And sorry about the phone, not that good sometimes, right? But anyway, I'm here to speak on several things. I've always got along with city council here, the whole city. The city has always worked with us. We've always worked with the city. I would like to bring up a few things. Our Veterans Day Parade, we're still trying to get somebody to do it. Sorry to say if we can't get anybody, then we won't be able to have it again this year. I am trying. But you know how it is sometimes, certain people, just so many people do the work and can't get anybody to do it. So we'll see. If I should know, I know we need to do something by the end of this month in order to start setting up for ourselves. That's on the parade. We're also looking, we've been doing a fundraiser to raise money to get a digital sign to replace our old one. We know we have to get permits or whatever. Whoever does the sign, that they would have to handle that. But we're doing pretty good. We've had several donations. We've already collected about $6,000 in donations, which is pretty good. But our sons is the biggest problem donator. So far, they donated probably about $2,500. So I can't thank them enough. But anyway, we also had several other people donate. Also, we have a grand opening for our game room that we moved our games around, moved the pool table and repainted, stuff like that. Kind of opened up our bar area a little bit for a game room. And that'll be February 25th, start at 5:30. We're gonna have a lot of different types of games and stuff just going on just to make it a fun night. And anybody's invited to come to that. And hopefully it'll be a big success. And the next thing is our auxiliary. We are having problems with our auxiliary. Okay. This group has decided to vacate our club. They're now meeting at City Hall. Just to inform NR Lake, they are nothing to do with our ambulance post. They don't support us. They have nothing to do. Why they got upset because I said something about they need to start doing stuff for our posts and our veterans. And when I went to our meeting, they pretty much tried to tell me I wasn't welcome. And they said, well, we'll just cancel our meeting then. And they decided to start over here. So that's on them. They meet at Mentor Lake City Hall, which is their choice due to the fact that they do not wish to take in membership at our post. We at this time had charges with the AMVETS state veterans and auxiliary concerning these matters, which have already been addressed in our favor as per AMVETS in investigating general, and has been turned over to the AMVETS state commander and AMVETS state auxiliary president for further action. Again, they are not out of our AMVETS post. I have a paper here on the Inspector General's report. I went to the AMVets state convention, and this is in our booklets that went to all the people that participated in the convention here. And I won't even read that, but they did rule in our favor. So I just want, anything they do, I don't want you to think that they're doing it for AMVets. They are not part of our post anymore. That's their choice. So therefore, that's about all I have to say. Thank you.
Good evening, Jeff Schick, 7533 Salida Road. And I wanted to follow up a little bit on the few things I said at the last council meeting regarding the Community Development Committee. And I can feel your agony over not having an announcement, because it is hard sometimes to know when committee meetings are happening, when the whole council, the whole is meeting. We as citizens have a hard time always getting clear information off of the webpage or the various email networks that we all have going. It's a challenge for everybody, I think, probably, to try and keep up on it. But I'm here right now to talk about the next step in the committee, the Community Development Committee meeting, and I talked about this with Paul at that meeting. And he let me know that he wasn't going to be available, but he wanted to know if we wanted to keep our energy going, go right ahead and have informal meetings. And so we are setting up for one. I had a conversation with the mayor today to use this room on the 16th at 7 p.m. And I talked with Janelle about scheduling that, and I've given Dave the application for that. But I didn't hear the time you mentioned today about your other meeting on the 16th. Will that be in conflict with our 7 o'clock?
Well, it's a with our meeting.
It's 6.
At 6.
But it will be, is it in conflict at 7 o'clock, or is that meeting in the daytime?
Well, I mean, you've reserved the room for your meeting.
Right.
Has nothing to do with the community cat meeting and WICA.
I was just hoping that you could be available. While
No, sir, I won't be.
Oh, well, cancel that other thing and just stay with us. I'm just kidding.
Well, if I could stop you real quick. The Community Development Committee is made up of council members. There is not an organized citizen group that runs the Community Development Committee.
That's correct.
Okay,
I'm
I
fully
fully want to
aware
make
of
that clear to you.
You are unambiguous, and I am not confused at all.
Okay, thank you.
I mentioned to the chairman of that committee what we would try to do to keep the citizens informed and aware of what we were doing, and allow for them to give us information about what they were thinking about what a comprehensive plan might look like. And we're using the baseline information that everyone has already seen, which is the several drafts of a vision statement, several drafts of a mission statement, and some lists of things that a comprehensive plan typically includes. What are the elements in a comprehensive plan? And I'll use Ms. Moore's words from the last meeting. It should be a citywide comprehensive plan, not just a commercial district planning activity. And so that's kind of where we're developing the concept here. There have been, as you know, 2 contractors who wanted to support the city on that, and we want to keep everybody engaged and informed about that idea. So that's why we asked to have the meeting. We did not intend that this meeting would be an official city council meeting. We were completely aware of that. I apologize if you misunderstood me. And so we put out an email. I have about 70 or 75 people on a mailing list. And there's another mailing list on the other side of Andrews Road, and they have 60 or 65 people on their mailing list. And so we'll just let people know what we're thinking about doing and give them an opportunity to talk to us. 7 p.m. in this room, this Thursday, the 16th. And the idea is not to help make decisions. The idea is to help with was a forum for communication so that people can understand what we're thinking about doing. And then the last thing is unrelated to the city development activity. Mr. Lyons, commented on an addiction resolution or opt-in strategy, and as a citizen, I'm not sure what your deliberations have been in the past, but I fully support anything that the city can do to opt into any kind of addiction, education, recovery, support. It's a horrible, ugly disease, and anything our city can do to contribute to advancing our city's activity in that regard, you have my total support. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other members of the public wish to speak this evening? Hearing none, we'll move on to legislation before council. Resolution number 2023-R-02. Clerk, would you read it by its title, please?
Resolution number 2023-R-02. A resolution authorizing and directing the administrative director to enter into agreements with the city of Nenner for the 2023 road program and declaring an emergency.
Motion to suspend.
Second.
Any discussion? Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Mrs. Moore,
Aye.
Mrs. Thompson,
Aye.
Mr. Bittner,
Aye.
Mr. Shaboo,
Aye.
Mr. Lunder,
Aye.
Motion for passage.
Second.
If we could, just real quick, amend, the resolution, take out administrative director, I will be approving
Motion to amend the resolution 2023-R-02 to represent the mayor instead of the administrative director.
Clerk, will you call the roll for the amendment, please?
Did you get a second?
Mr. Bittner, seconded.
Mr. Benner, seconded, please.
Mrs. Moore,
Aye.
Mrs. Thompson,
Aye.
Mr. Bittner,
Aye.
Mr. Shaboo,
Aye.
Mr. Lunder,
Aye.
Motion for passage.
Second.
Will you call the roll, please?
Mrs. Moore,
Aye.
Mrs. Thompson,
Aye.
Mr. Bittner,
Aye.
Mr. Shaboo,
Aye.
Mr. Lunder,
Aye.
Motion is passed. Resolution number 2023-R-03. Clerk, will you read it by its title, please?
resolution number.
Wait, you guys, vote on the amendment.
Yes,
Yes.
Okay, and so you voted 3 times.
yes.
Gotcha.
Yes.
Okay, I missed
You voted yes.
one of the votes. So efficient.
Guys are too quick.
3 times?
Yes, yes, it did.
Okay.
That was right. Resolution number 2023-R-03. A resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into a development agreement with MSP Properties of Ohio LP, a Pennsylvania limited partnership for the property located at 5768 Andrews Road, permanent parcel number 19A 091G000030, and declaring an emergency.
Discussion?
I would like to ask the mayor, why is it going this route? Like, to an agreement with you versus, we haven't had this in the past.
This is something we talked about during the overlay district, and not that this is part of it, but the idea that council would be involved with also, looking at the development agreement, planning and zoning looked at it so that everybody has eyes on this to make sure that everything is the way it should.
Okay, so this just gives us our safety net, so we get to see it as well.
Right, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, if we didn't do this, I could have signed off on it, but
Okay,
the idea is all 7 of you.
so it's gonna give us more of an opportunity to look at it. Everybody has, okay.
Right.
Did everybody have an opportunity to review it? Okay. I will add that planning and zoning did approve this at their meeting. Is there any other discussion or a motion for suspension?
I will second.
Clerk, will you call the roll, please?
Mrs. Moore,
Aye.
Mrs. Thompson,
Aye.
Mr. Bittner,
Aye.
Mr. Shaboo,
Aye.
Mr. Lunder,
Aye. Motion for passage. Second.
Clerk, will you call the roll, please?
Mrs. Moore,
Aye.
Mrs. Thompson,
Aye.
Mr. Bittner,
Aye.
Mr. Shaboo,
Aye.
Mr. Lunder,
Aye.
Motion, resolution is passed. Ordinance number 2022-0-25, third reading, assigned to the zoning committee. It's an ordinance amending appendix A to the codified ordinances for the Archuleta area and declaring an emergency. From my knowledge, the zoning committee has not met on this yet, correct?
Correct.
That will stay in committee. Ordinance number 2022-0-27. This was put on third reading and assigned to planning and zoning. Planning and zoning approved that, so do we have a motion to bring it back to the table?
I'll make a motion. I'll second it.
Clerk, will you call the roll, please?
Mrs. Moore,
Aye.
Mrs. Thompson,
Aye.
Mr. Bittner,
Aye.
Mr. Shaboo,
Aye.
Mr. Lunder,
Aye.
Because this is a zoning change. We will have to set this for a public hearing, and we can set that at the end, in your announcements and setting of meetings. I did email out a copy of the changes that planning and zoning proposed. If everybody could review that for the next meeting, that would be helpful. And then ordinance number 2023-0-01. Clerk, will you read it by its title, please?
ordinance number 2023-0-01. An ordinance levying liens for expenses incurred for lawn maintenance and or culvert repairs. Motion to suspend.
Second.
Clerk, will you call the roll, please?
Mrs. Moore,
Aye.
Mrs. Thompson,
Aye.
Mr. Bittner,
Aye.
Mr. Shaboo,
Aye.
Mr. Lunder,
Aye.
Motion for passage. Second.
Seconded by. Motion made by Mr. Lunder, seconded by Mrs. Thompson. Clerk, will you call the roll, please?
Mrs. Moore,
Aye.
Mrs. Thompson,
Aye.
Mr. Bittner,
Aye.
Mr. Shaboo,
Aye.
Mr. Lunder,
Aye.
Ordinance 2023-0-01 is passed. Old business? Not on the agenda. We'll move on to new business.
I'd like to make a motion that we opt into the settlement that Mr. Lyons was talking about.
I would second that.
I was incorrect, I said four, I think, fine, Teva, Allergan, CVS, Wall,
Do we have to state them by name?
I mean, we don't need the list.
Okay.
So, because my comments would be in there. It's a multi-billion-dollar settlement that's being paid over a number of years. And as I said, we're not gonna get large dollars, but there are large dollars being extracted, I think is the correct word, through the court system and through this process to try to help alleviate this whole situation. I hope it works.
Motion made by Mr. Bittner, seconded by Mrs. Thompson to opt in to the opiate settlement lawsuit. Clerk, will you call the roll, please?
Mrs. Moore,
Aye.
Mrs. Thompson,
Aye.
Mr. Bittner,
Aye.
Mr. Shaboo,
Aye.
Mr. Lunder,
Aye.
Motion is passed to opt into the settlement. We'll open this portion to the public to speak. If you'd like to speak, please step to the left and state your name and address for the record.
Good evening, Mr. Gray, 7574 Dudley Drive. So council has rendered a lease agreement of 20 years with Jolly General. Hope you guys understand what that means, what you just voted on in the past. a 20-year lease agreement with Dollar General. Now, during all the prior meetings that we've been to or not been to, or subject to approval of public knowledge to a meeting. My understanding was MSP was buying the property as a whole, one of the sub-property to be split. Prior to knowledge of goings in the city administration, if one company commercially wants to join two properties or split it, has to go through a process. I feel and believe that that's not taking place. This agreement should not have been agreed upon. MSP wants to develop 1 acre to the front for retail. And prior meetings, P and Z, they stated it could be anybody. But you guys just locked yourself into a 20-year lease agreement with Dollar General as it is written tonight. Second to that, the green space that has been written in the lease agreement, you just gave now MSP permission to clear cut 3 acres and leave open exposed drainage flooded. As they strip it, they have 1 year to develop it or sell it. All you guys agreed upon is to the 1 acre out front for a 20-year lease agreement with Dollar General. Thank you.
The others that wish to speak this evening. Hearing none, move on to the announcement. Yes,
Chair, thank you. Comment.
yes, Mr. Lyons, please.
We do not have an agreement. We do not have a lease with Dollar General. Instead, we have this development agreement that is based on zoning for that parcel of land. So that the building that's going to be built there is going to look like it has the signage that was approved in the agreement. The agreement is a contract between the city and the developer. That is what the only thing that they could build there without further zoning. That's all it is. Dollar General is not a party to it. Dollar General, they still decide, I doubt it, but they can still decide that they don't want to lease that spot. But if Dollar General or some other type of entity does lease that spot, then they have to comply those building standards that are in there, and also the fresh food requirement that is in there. They also have to adhere, to the other standards that are in there. Development agreements are becoming more and more common throughout cities as a way to attract, find companies that are trying to come in. And it's designed to give the city more control than what's actually in the zoning ordinance. So that's why the city is willing to recommend to the administration was willing to recommend a development agreement. That's what I have to say about that. In regards to Mr. Schick and what he said before, can I speak to that just a little bit?
Yes, sir.
One, I find Mr. Schick to be an incredibly clear speaker. With incredibly clear ideas. I say that sincerely. I just want to say, from just my perspective of being around a long time, having a meeting like you're going to do that is not under the auspices of a council committee could cause confusion, amongst residents in terms of what's going on. The only thing I think, because it's going to be held in City Hall, people are being notified to come to City Hall, but it's not an official city function. And I think that people have a hard time trying to separate those two things in terms of what's going on in terms of how things are going to get advanced. And so I know that meeting got canceled or didn't get set up as well as it should have. But my understanding from council is that they're willing to meet and to continue this. I mean, they just need some new meeting dates. And so I'm just saying that, you're welcome to meet. You can come here, you can go to a restaurant, you can go to Perry, Ohio if you want to have a meeting. But it just may cause confusion out there. Okay, maybe not the people at the meeting, But when people are talking about it, they just had a big meeting, how come I wasn't invited? Why wasn't that on the website and those things? That's where my thoughts are. So you can either agree or disagree, but I just thought that. I wanted to say, and I did. Okay, yeah, so.
No,
Yes, you may.
Thank you. There was no intention to cause confusion.
No, I understand that.
No, I understand what you're understanding. And sometimes saying the same things 2 or 3 times allows for the confusion to diffuse. And so I'll say again, our people that we have talked to want to support the administration and council as they move through and finish the process of evaluating all of the ordinance in this city. And we haven't changed our energy level on that. We've had meetings at my house. We've had meetings at other citizens' houses. We've had meetings that were formal and informal in this room. And we've had meetings where we had several council members and meetings where we've had all council members. And I'll do my very best to not confuse the situation, but and so in that, I'm really taking to heart what you said, and I want to ask you, would you be willing to review the email I used?
No.
Okay, then,
And I say that quickly.
yes, you did.
Because I don't think because then it's like the city is sanctioning that meeting and then we're helping that meeting. We're not opposed to the meeting.
Well,
You can do whatever you want. It's just
thank you.
my experience watching things is that people take away different things from a meeting, that weren't anticipated. And I know that there's been a lot of energy for this economic development. Taking a look at it, and I know that evidently there was a glitch recently, but I don't know if it's good. Whatever you think. I just wanted to say what I said. I'm not trying to be the least bit overbearing or anything like that. Whatever you want to do is fine. Okay.
Now, I'll finish the rest of the sentence. It's about to come.
But
And I-
clear speaker, I
I
understand that.
acknowledge your quickness. I don't know everything. And I don't know all of the tools and techniques that might be useful here. You've been in the city a long time too.
Yeah.
And so my comment was hoping to solicit advice and coaching, not affirmation. And that's okay. I've talked to other people, but I would add you to my list of people to talk to too. So, but I'm not gonna put you in a position to have to worry about whether it represents a city. What we did over the summer was to try to develop some energy to support the mayor and the council as the city develops going forward. And this is just another step in that.
I think I'm talking. Am I talking too much? I'll be happy with not talking. But I was gonna say that there's been a real nice event down at Manor Beach Park, just to the car show. Okay, but I think, at least initially, it was hard to separate that from people's perception, whether or not that was the administration of the city was involved in that, or whether that was a separate group. And that's because there were so many city people that were involved in it, but it was a completely separate group and it had nothing to do or nothing official with the city.
Right.
So in terms of, and I think that's been pretty clearly established, at this point, but it wasn't so easy, to start that process, to have people just know this is a private event, this is a city event, and your event is a completely private event that involves, public matters. Is what it does, but you're holding it in City Hall, and I could just see some people thinking, how come we weren't notified? How come this wasn't up on the billboard? What are they trying to hide from us in terms of this transparency stuff? Okay, I mean, I'm just telling you what my thoughts are in terms of watching things over the years, not just here, but other places.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah, and I share your observation about the potential for messaging to go wrong.
Right.
And we'll do our best for clarity, and if necessary, we'll make sure we get an announcement on the city webpage. It's hard to get things on the city webpage. There is a community webpage, and we'll communicate to the people through that as much as we can. And I will not at all feel or be in conflict with the mayor's impression of what this is. He was unambiguous, and I am not confused.
And I will tell you that if I was not busy Thursday, I would not be at your meeting Thursday night, just for that same reason. I also got a phone call from Ryan Spalding from Envision. He was asking, what is the progress of hiring me to do the master plan? Now, where did he get that from? We had a council member independently call him to negotiate a contract with him. Were you aware of that?
I was not.
Okay, well, good news then, first news for me. That is not how this process is gonna work. Okay? We would be spending well over $40,000. That would go out for a bid. We would put a public notice out there, just like the road program or anything, and take bids on somebody coming in and facilitating a master plan for the city. So that council member did something that not the rest of the council knew, not that I knew, until I talked to Mr. Smalley the other day to say, we're not even to that point yet of anything. We have appropriations meeting where council will discuss whether or not that funding will go into the appropriations. And if it's approved, then the process will be to take bids on somebody coming in to do that work.
And I think that's the way it should go. In fact, if you have been, maybe you were at one when we talked about it, but I know Earl was at every meeting I've had, and I have said to people, this really should be a request for proposals system, or a request for qualifications and then proposals. So that the city and the council understand, one, what's the picture we're looking at, and then are these applicants qualified to even apply to do the job?
I don't disagree with you.
Right,
And,
so you and I are speaking the same
right, and we are, because
intention with different words.
I was able to bring in the HANA group and also Envision. You know, here's what an example of that would look like. And you're correct, we are talking the same language here.
Yeah.
Where it's gotta go up for bid.
Absolutely. Yeah, you have my support on that.
Okay, good, thank you.
Anyone else?
What you just brought up about that council member contacting the Envision. I'm appalled that somebody will actually on council go ahead and do that. That upsets me. Not knowing, not let the rest of the council know what he's doing, and he has no business doing it. I want that on the record.
And I think when we were all sworn in, we were all sworn in to say that we will not spend dollars that we're not authorized to spend either, when we were all sworn in individually.
Anything else from the public this evening?
Earl Curtis, 7523 Salina Road. I guess my concern is I'm sitting here listening to all sides, and I don't know whether or not the mayor or council even wants the public involved. I don't, I'll just go about do my business, I'll mow my lawn and take care of my house and just stay out of it. But I truly believe a healthy city is a city that gets ideas from everything. And the more people involved, the better the ideas, the better the end product. And I just keep feeling that every door gets shut everywhere possible, and decisions are made behind curtains. And then what's the point? We have two council members didn't even know about a committee meeting, for God's sakes. You say, well, it can't be published on the website. Well, I promise you, very little is published on the website. So if it's published, this other meeting, that would be a miracle. Oh my God, we got one published. we have people in the community that are telling things about, oh my God, this Dollar General 20-year commitment, and I think it's just because nobody knows again, nobody. The people in the community are getting frustrated because they don't know what is really going on. And to me, it's really sad, it's really sad, and you guys are the leaders, you guys are the ones who put this all together. And if you don't want community involvement, that's fine. I mean, like I said, I'll go back and mow the lawn and just mind my own business and as everybody else in this room did. And we'll all just go through our thing, and these committee meetings will take 2 minutes and everybody vote yes for everything, we'll call it a day. All right, thanks.
I'd like to bring something up. As a chairperson of a committee, it is your duty and responsibility to make sure that everybody knows when that meeting is. We all have cell phones, we all have phone numbers, everybody has this, we all have city emails. We are easily to contact, and when that information does not get shared, it doesn't, we can't attend meetings that we don't know about. I've spoken to you gentlemen before about all these emails that have supposedly gone around with all these residents about this process. As a council person, I asked for those at that meeting. I have not received one email about that, not one. So when it comes down to transparency and communication, that goes both ways. We can't work with the community when that information is not being shared with us, and that is being done behind, I don't want to say behind closed doors, but without that information being shared across all members of council. We cannot weigh in on it when 1 or 2 people who should be coming back as a council member and sharing that with us is not doing so. My apologies to you if there's a breakdown in communication, but I'm getting very frustrated being told by the community that we don't want help and we don't want input when we don't know what is going on at those meetings because it is not being shared with us.
May I comment? Oh, yes, go ahead, Kevin. So I just want to comment to Earl really quick. I think it's pretty evident, me personally, I do agree. I like community input, okay? When we did this PUD together, we did it together, right? Yes, there were some disagreements, but I think you guys came up with great ideas. I think we all came up with great ideas. We worked together. So to say we don't like community input, I disagree with that. There's a right way to go about it. That's the issue here, okay? I think there are things that are happening, Mr. Lyons pointed out. There's a fine line we have to walk. We have to do it properly. These meetings, for instance, we really should have another community development meeting. We don't have a co-chair that can run the meeting as of right now. There was never one appointed. The meeting where we didn't know about. I mean, that's not the right way. I do value it. That's me speaking for myself, and I believe they do as well. I really do. I mean, this is our community. It's not ours, yours, it's everybody's.
Yeah, I think, can I say one thing? Earl took once again, I think he's a very good speaker. I wasn't trying to stop people from meeting. I just wanted it to be a structure that everybody understood what it was. So there wasn't a question of, what the forum was. That's all. I wasn't trying to suppress anything. And your comments made me think you thought I was, and I wasn't. I was instead trying to do the opposite, but just to have a formal process, that people understand what the rules are. Because I think we're right here together, and I could just see how people could think they were being excluded from your meeting, and then they, because you're not a public meeting, okay, you're sending it out to this person and that person. That's what.
No, and I did not let anything you said go out the other ear.
No, I know that. I know that.
And it's going to be a part of how I present what we do on Thursday,
Right, okay.
because it's important.
Right.
To comment on Ms. Moore and others who I could see nodding with her. Our community activity, the citizens' activity that happened last year surrounding the PUD and the two properties on Andrews Road that have gone through all the processes, brought out an understanding of many things that are hard to work within. Communication, transparency, websites, announcements, council committees, chairpersons, assistant chairs, whatever you want to call that stuff, it is not simple. In the United States Congress, they talk about sausage. Well, we got a smaller version of the same thing. It's hard sometimes to get all of these things figured out. In my first comment in the January meeting here was, I learned a lot by all of the miscommunication and errors I made last year during that process. This calendar year, my energy is still as high. And I want to work with the systems that there are, but I don't forget that more than one council member said to me, we can't have more than 2 people at a meeting or it's called official. And therefore we can't have good communication. We can't be open and honest. We have to be careful with everything we say. I respect that and I'm trying to work within that system. Or we have to have everybody at a meeting or enough people at a meeting to do that. We don't need them. I don't need this to be.
That's not, your statement wasn't correct, but I can tell you why it's not correct, but keep going.
Well, I'll try my best to be clearer then, because if there are 3 people on a committee meeting, on the committee, and 2 are at the meeting, it has to be an official meeting.
Correct.
Okay, so we've been trying to avoid that problem unless it could be a committee of the whole, where everybody was there and nobody had a chance to be behind the curve because they were all a part of the curve being built.
It would, if you had a committee of the whole, then it would be a meeting and it would announce.
Right, and all of those things.
What it would have to
That's
be in
right,
terms of letting the paper know.
that's right.
And anybody else who has
That's right.
asked, you know.
Yes, I understand that, yeah, I apologize. for
Yeah, when you were saying 2, I was thinking you were thinking about council as a whole, right?
Right. Yeah, and so we didn't get it all right on our side. I'm not saying we got it all right. I'm saying that we have at least some people who want to continue to contribute to the city's forward motion. That's all.
Right.
And we're gonna do our best to make less mistakes next month than we made the last few months. And just keep growing as we continue to contribute. So, thank you.
Thank you. Any others?
I know I don't come to council too much. Of course, I don't live here, but I do have property in Ronway. But I come here and I can't hear. And I noticed that mic's over there and he's talking over here. His mic's here, he's talking way back there and facing that way. I'm hard of hearing, I don't hear half a word. So maybe you might consider, I hear you though. Talk a little bit, something might be appreciated.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good job, Ben.
All right. Moving on, we're gonna have announcements and settings of meetings. March 28th at 7 p.m. will be the public hearing for 2022-0-27. The Board of Zoning Appeals will be meeting on February 20th, 2023 at 7 p.m. The next planning and zoning meeting is scheduled for March 6th, 2023 at 6 p.m.
What date?
March 6th
6 p.m.
at 6 p.m.
Maybe utilities meeting.
You'd like to schedule a utilities meeting?
I mean, utilities.
Right. And this here.
We need a zoning.
Okay.
We want to do.
I'd also like to set the finance meeting.
We gotta do finance to appropriate.
That'd be me.
Oh, man.
I want to do
Let's
these.
look at this here.
I like that roundabout way.
Do we want to do the finance meeting as a committee of the whole?
Of the whole.
Okay.
When is Mr. Moore back then, Mr. Morse?
We do not have return dates for Mr. Johnson and Mr. Morris at this time.
I know we were having them on Saturdays for finance, but then we moved it to an evening during the week. Does any evening? Any days better for anybody than not better? I know, Mr. Shaboo, you're not good with Tuesdays.
I guess my question would be, when could we have her review
Oh, well,
ahead of time so we can,
You guys have,
We have the budget already.
you have,
I don't know.
okay,
So
yeah, you have it,
we can do.
if we have. Feels Monday the 20th.
Okay.
We're getting down to where if council's going to go through 3 readings. And we have to prepare the appropriation ordinances prior to the last meeting in February. Then I would say we have to do something 21st, 22nd, ish of February.
how does the 22nd? That's a Wednesday. Twenty-second Wednesday?
That's the same, is that the same night as Park and Rec?
No,
No,
that's,
Park and Rec,
Thursday.
no.
Park and Rec would be the following week, but
That's the 23rd, but I don't, are they gonna have a meeting? Or-
No, Park and Rec is on March
No,
2nd.
So the 23rd is on Thursday, though.
Don't take the 23rd, I'm saving that. For us.
so the 23rd would be the agenda meeting, right?
Yes,
That's way too, we won't be able to get you
right.
the final numbers.
So it has to be the 21st or the 22nd at the latest. Right, I mean,
Can't be
21st,
the 21st,
Tuesday.
gotta be the 22nd.
22nd.
so Mr. Shabir, excuse me, Mr. Shabir, you're good for the. What day did you say, the 22nd or the 21st?
The committee of the whole we're talking about right now.
What day did you
For
say you were good?
Oh, yeah, the 23rd, the 22nd, I mean, for Wednesday, I'm good.
22nd.
You said the 22nd, the 22nd, either works for me.
I'll see what I can do, I can probably, you're gonna have to,
So
Wednesdays are horrible, but.
the 7 o'clock sound okay?
Yes.
Oh, yeah,
I'll start earlier. That's all.
committee of the whole.
Yeah.
6:30, I
What
mean,
do you think? I mean, Tuesday.
I can't make 6.
Okay, Tuesday, 7.
Okay.
Whatever you do.
All right, so we're doing Wednesday.
Who's on finance? Well,
Mr. Morris and
Desiree,
Mr.
Paul,
Lunger,
and
but if we do it as a committee of the whole, does that still work?
so why don't you do a combined meeting, finance committee and the committee of the whole? So in the event that you can't, for some reason, get 4 people there for the committee of the whole, but you have 2 people for the finance, you can have a meeting, the finance committee, and vote. Okay, to have a recommendation to council.
Okay,
So you can have those meetings at exactly the same.
okay. All right, so it'll be finance / committee of the whole on February 22nd at 7 p.m.
I think it would be finance and committee of the whole, I mean, 2 separate.
Okay, yeah,
Meetings at the
finance
same
and committee of
time.
the whole,
Right.
both will meet at 7 p.m.
They can run simultaneously.
Wednesday, the 22nd, right?
Yes.
At 7 p.m.
Right, and if you have a forum for the committee of the whole, you can just look to terminate the finance committee and then just do it there. Okay, if you don't, You could just do the finance.
Okay. I would like to schedule. Let's see, ordinance. For the 23rd. Right?
23rd.
Yeah. It's gonna be you and myself, because I believe Paul is still out.
What time?
Does that work for you?
What?
The 23rd, is that good for you? It'd have to be 7.
7 o'clock?
Yeah, and we're gonna take this ordinance a set of time, so we're only gonna put on for this one. I'd like to get, you said the rental fees is pretty close. So we're gonna do the rental fee, and I believe the right of way was. Oh,
Sorry, I already got that back. I already sent it.
it was on my agenda the 5th, so,
I'll send it to you.
okay. So rental fees and right of way. Those two we should be able to complete that time. Good.
Utilities meeting. When are you good for that? Want to go, it's only going to be about 15 minutes. I got the numbers back from Ohio.
How about 6:30 on the
Okay, that could be
6:30 on the 23rd.
23rd? Or 6:40, whatever you want to do it right before,
before.
if that's okay.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
We'll meet at 6:30, whatever you get here.
Okay. Well, we gotta set the time, so.
Utilities 223 to 6:30.
Yeah.
223. We need a zoning committee. That shouldn't take long. That's Desiree and I and Jim.
Well, yes.
Can we do it before BZA?
Not on that one.
What day?
Monday,
What date?
Monday the 20th.
20th.
At what time?
What time can you do, let me see, what do we have on the 20th? BZA's at 7. Can you be here at 6:30 or do you want to do
I can be
it
here at
after
6,
that?
I can be here at 6:30. I can't be here any earlier.
Yeah, it was either that or we could do it after. What's the convenience?
6:30 is fine.
Okay,
And that was on the 20th?
yeah. Save my marriage.
All right, I'll run back through that list in a minute. I just wanted to speak to scheduling an official or unofficial. So the Community Development Committee, the chairperson was asked to choose a vice chair or a co-chair. So that if that person was not able to attend, the vice chair would be able to schedule and or proceed with a meeting. The chairperson did not name a vice chair for that committee, therefore we cannot schedule a community development committee meeting for the council community development committee. My apologies to the public, but we will address that with the chairperson of that committee. I'm gonna run back down through that list real quick. All right, so, starting with the finance meeting and a committee of the whole is scheduled for February 22nd at 7 p.m. Board of Zoning Appeals is scheduled for February 20th at 7 p.m. Planning and Zoning, March 6th at 6 p.m. The Utilities Committee will meet on the 23rd, February 23rd at 6:30 p.m. The Ordinance Committee will meet on February 23rd at 7 p.m. The Zoning Committee will meet on February 20th at 6:30 p.m. And there will be a public hearing scheduled for ordinance 2022-0-27 for March 28th at 7 p.m.
Park and Rec, March 28th, or March,
No.
There's no
we won't-
work and rec
Oh,
meeting
okay.
scheduled for February.
no, March.
Or March.
March. Yes,
That's totally.
it would have been March 2nd.
Yep.
And then we'll be looking to see if they'll have one at the end of March. All right. All those scheduled, do we have a motion for adjournment?
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Bittner, second by Mrs. Thompson. Clerk, will you call the roll, please?
Mrs. Moore,
Aye.
Mrs. Thompson,
Aye.
Mr. Bittner,
Hi.
Mr. Shaboo,
Aye.
Mr. Lunder,
Aye.
This meeting is adjourned.